Very well. Thank you. It's actually better this one, yes.
Thank you so much. As we discuss issues. Hello, hello, testing one, two. We may need the IT person to stay here because we can't afford getting into the same mess. And as we discuss issues to do with EU Africa trade relations and policies and their implications on agricultural trade, we may also have to discuss technology as a subcomponent of this. Yes. Good morning once again. My name is Kafero Habat, and I'll be the moderator for this multi-stakeholder dialogue on the implications of European Union Africa trade and investment policies on agricultural trade. We have a program that will be guiding the discussion today. And I request that you allow me to take us through the program so that we can be able to have a good start. We may have to change it a bit because of some unavoidable circumstances that we have some distinguished persons before us who have other really urgent assignments to take up, so they will be coming in earlier as I guide. So on our program, we have arrival and registration, which all of us who are here have done. And we'll have welcome remarks from we work in the southern and eastern part of Africa. SEATINI is a sub-regional non-government organization that works toward promoting pro-development, trade, fiscal and investment related policies and practices for sustained equitable development in Uganda and beyond. I'm saying beyond because our work cascades up to the global level based on the fact that as a country, Uganda, all as East Africa, we don't operate in a vacuum. Global affairs affect, so we cannot be blind to what happens at the global level. So to do with official opening remarks, we will have Honorable Okori Moi Janet, the chairperson, Committee on Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries, Parliament of Uganda. She will be officially opening the dialogue. On to impact the agriculture sector in Uganda, in East Africa, and Africa at large. And we will have Mr. Richard Okot, Assistant Commissioner, External Trade, Ministry of Trade, Industries and Cooperatives. He will be sharing some insights on leveraging the AfCFTA to promote agriculture value chains. We will then proceed to hear from Ms. Amelia Atkunda, the Monitoring and Evaluation Manager at Uganda Coffee Development Authority, who will share insights around coffee sector's preparedness to address the new EU regulations and measures. She will be sharing deeper insights around how Uganda is prepared, but also in the face of these directives. We will also hear from Honorable Wumukiza, the chairperson of Yala Committee on Agriculture, Tourism and Natural Resources. She'll be sharing some insights around the nexus between agriculture trade and climate justice. And all of us are invited to contribute to the discussion, and the program may expand because the discussion has to be really a dialogue and not a monologue. That's why we called it a multi-stakeholder dialogue. So all of us at one point may be invited to share some insights. We are lucky to also have a representative from a National Planning Authority, so we cannot afford to not to invite some insights. Ladies and gentlemen, they get to share what they have to share. Allow me to start at the back, and then we come. Hello.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Linda Arinda, and I work with SEATINI Uganda. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sharon Nafka, and I work.
The Department of Agribusiness and Natural Resource Economics at Makerere University, and I'm here on behalf of MATS, that is making agricultural trade market sustainable.
Elvis Sendoza. I work with the Uganda Parliament Alliance on Food and Nutrition Security as the focal point person. Thank you.
Morning, everyone. My name is Richard Obedi. I work as the Executive Director of the Populist Foundation International.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Alan Ucheng, planner of food processing with the National Planning Authority, an agency under Ministry of Finance. Thank you.
Amelia Atkunda. I'm the monetary manager. I'm representing the managing director who's not able to be here today. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Richard Okwato, Assistant Commissioner, Ministry of Trade, Industry and Cooperatives.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Adele. My name is for BIM.
Thank you so much for the introduction. At least we know who's in the room. So I think it's time for security representative, to share some 2 or 3 tips on how we can be security cautious and avoid any bad occurrences.
Thank you very much, sir. You're most welcome to Hotel Africana. My name is at times we get people who attend workshops where they are not invited. So such people, when they get access inside the hall, they not only attend, but when they get chance, they may disappear with the gadgets like laptops or phones. So it is a registration which helps us screen such kind of people. Then secondly, introductions is very important. Know somebody seated next to you, or you are in the middle of a workshop, then a person joins you. It is a concern where he or she is coming from. And for our guide, still we request you to take good care of them when you are
as we proceed into other items of the program.
Recording in progress.
Okay. Allow me to welcome you to this very, very important meeting, dialogue on the implication of the EU-Africa trade and investment policies on agricultural trade. First of all, I would like to welcome our honorable members of parliament here. I'd like to recognize them. Honorable Okot Mojawet, the chairperson of the committee on agriculture, and Honorable Muma Milton, chairperson, Uganda Parliamentary Alliance on Food and Nutrition Security. Honorable members, you are most welcome. We know you are very busy people. We are very happy to see you, and we know you are the policy makers there. We'd also like to recognize and welcome my dear friend, Commissioner Okot Richard from the Ministry of Trade. You are most welcome to this meeting. And also participants from the government, other government agencies, UCDA, Madam Watukunda, NPA, Mr. Ocheng, EPRC, Mr. Kakulu. We also have our online participants, Honorable Umukiza Iyala, and all the rest of the comrades who are here, whom I can't mention by name. You are most welcome. We have a consortium called MATS, Make Agricultural Trade Sustainable. We have a colleague there who is part of that consortium. So you are most welcome, all of you, comrades, the media, civil society. You are most welcome. We are going to have a conversation around agricultural trade between Africa, but charity begins at home, specifically between Uganda, ESC, Africa, and the EU. This meeting comes at a very opportune time when we are talking about AGOA. They are pushing us out of AGOA, and we thought we need to look at our other trading partners. And EU is a big trading partner. Mr. Okot will tell us how big that trading partner is, but EU is our great trading partner right from colonial times up to today. They might be in third place, maybe from second or first place, but they are still a valued trading partner. And when you have a trading partner, when it comes to trade, the policies in that country, the investment, agriculture, trade policies, they matter. How you are going to trade, what kind of products you are going to trade there. So that's one of the reasons why we said let us look at the EU-Africa trade relationship and see how we can be able to make it better. We have been trading as Africa and as Uganda. We have been trading with the European Union since colonial times under different arrangements, under Lomé, under the Cotonou, then the post-Cotonou. Now they are telling us we negotiate the economic partnership agreements. Kenya has already signed and ratified the EPA, but Kenya is part of the East African community. What does that mean to our trade, for our trade with the European Union? Because you see, unless you trade, you can't get out of poverty, isn't it? We talk about agricultural trade. Those two words are very important, because we are an agricultural country. We produce, we grow agricultural products, and we need to trade them. Because if you don't trade your agricultural products, the country, the people will remain poor, isn't it? You see our pineapples. No? If you can't take them anywhere, if you can't add value to them, you can't package them, you can't trade them, the country is going to remain poor, the people will remain poor. You know, when you look at our trade with the European Union, they are mostly commodities, vegetables, raw coffee, you know, all of them. And that's why we are running a trade deficit with the European Union and with other trading partners, because we are tied into the commodity export dependence. So how do we change the trade arrangement between us and the European Union so that we can be able to sell value-added products, so that we can be able to produce, industrialize, create decent jobs and export those industrialized products? EU can give us a leverage there. There are other trade arrangements which we are going to talk about in this conversation. The Continental Free Trade Area, that's also an opportunity out there. But how do we position ourselves? What does the CFTA say? You know, so we need also to look at that. And before I end my opening remarks, there is also the issue of climate change. Climate change and the imperative to shift to clean energy, using clean energy. EU is very passionate about it. They are saying net zero, that by 2030 they are not using any fossil fuel. But they are also putting demands on us, the people whom they trade, the countries they are trading with, you know. So we are seeing so many directives coming out of the EU, and our colleague from UCDA will be able to talk about that, you know, the directives, that's CS3D, the Corporate Sustainability Due Diligence Directive, you know. How is that going to impact on our coffee and our value chains? You know, so for us in SEATINI, we are passionate about trade, and we know we can be able to trade our way out of poverty. But the policy environment has to be right. But we also need to work on the supply, the capacities, the supply capacity, the issues of quality, the issue of quantity. But today we are going to concentrate on those issues, our relationship with the EU, but also on the CFTA, how we can be able to position ourselves to be able to take advantage, more advantage of those two markets. So with those few remarks, I wish us great deliberations. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much, Ms. Jane Alunga, for those welcome remarks. Although they were not just welcome, but deeper welcome remarks, because she was also partly setting the scene for the meeting. And I'd like to just re-echo one issue that she raised. At SEATINI, we believe that we can trade our way out of poverty, but the policy environment has to be right, because it's not just a given. We have to intentionally make our policy environment right in order to benefit from our trade. And without further ado, I would like to still invite the ED again to invite Honorable Okori Janet, the Chairperson Committee on Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries, to give the official opening remarks.
Okay, protocol. Protocol demands that a big woman invites the biggest woman in the room. Okay, so with all due respect, let me invite you, Honorable Member of Parliament, to open our meeting.
We are all the same. You see our sizes. Thank you very much. I want to thank SEATINI Uganda and all of you distinguished ladies and gentlemen, and I salute you all. My name's Janet Okori Moy, woman MP for BIM and the chairperson of the Parliamentary Committee on Agriculture. First of all, I want to thank SEATINI Uganda for the invitation that they extended to me. I'm sorry that I didn't confirm because I wasn't sure. Like you had alluded to, we have so many engagements, and even right now, I requested the program manager that let the meeting start so that I can say one or two things. And if I had known my colleague was here, Honorable Milton, I was going to delegate him. I only didn't know, because we have a lot of engagements. I have the animal feeds bill before me, and I have stakeholders. They arrived at 10. I also have an item on the other paper. The report is not ready, so I have to go back and put things together. But all the same, we thank God for this day. And again, I want to thank SEATINI Uganda for the opportunity. When I received the invitation, the request was for me to make a keynote address to this engagement. And I scratched through my head with the busy schedule, wondering what we could talk about. But nevertheless, we have something to talk about. Ladies and gentlemen, and distinguished guests, I must say I thank God for this opportunity, and I am privileged to address you this morning as we convene to delve into the crucial and timely subject of the implications of European Union-Africa trade and investment policies on agriculture trade. This multi-stakeholder dialogue, convened by SEATINI Uganda, is a real testament to our shared commitment to promoting inclusive and sustainable agricultural trade in Africa. The essence of agriculture in Africa, according to records, and practically extends beyond food production. It is a cornerstone of livelihoods, especially for rural communities and the continent's overall economic development. As of 2021, 52% of employed people in sub-Saharan Africa were active in agriculture. And in Uganda, for financial year 2022-2023, agriculture accounted for about 24% of GDP and 35% of export earnings. The Uganda Bureau of Statistics also estimates that about 68% of Ugandans' working population is employed in agriculture. Further, according to UN's FAO, Food and Agriculture Organization, Uganda's fertile agriculture is the most important trading partner, like the ED, has said, for the African continent, and the main buyer of African agricultural exports, as 35% of total exports from Africa. For instance, in 2018, the total volume of trade between the EU and Africa amounted to about 35 billion, accounting for about 25% of the total African agricultural trade. Ladies and gentlemen, the East African community has a historical trade relationship with the EU, dating back to the signing of the Lomé Convention in 1975, which granted preferential access to African, Caribbean, and Pacific products, and established a framework for aid and investment. Due to challenges regarding the compatibility of the Lomé Convention with World Trade Organization principles, negotiations for a new partnership framework known as the Cotonou Partnership began in 2000 between the EU and the ACP group members. So in 2014, the East African Community Partner States, that is Burundi, Kenya, Rwanda, Tanzania, and Uganda, finalized negotiations for an economic partnership agreement, that is the EPA, with the EU. So the EPA obligated East African Community Partner States to open their markets significantly, with the EU granting 100% duty and quota-free access to imports from East African countries. However, the East African Community Partner States would need to eliminate 82.6%, according to records, of custom duties on EU products over a 15 to 25-year period. Although Kenya and Rwanda signed the EPA in September 2016, its application was contingent on the signature and ratification of all East African Community countries. Notably, the EU and Kenya concluded negotiations for an EPA on June the 19th, 2023, with estimations indicating significant revenue losses, particularly for Uganda, that was projected at US dollars 438,170. Despite the fact that the European Union has long been a significant trading partner for Africa, it is imperative to comprehend its implications, challenges, and opportunities that arise, especially in the context of agricultural trade. Hence, the justification for this important multi-sector, multi-stakeholder dialogue where we are going to share a lot. Ladies and gentlemen, the implications of EU-Africa trade and investment policies on agricultural trade are multifaceted and can significantly influence the agricultural sectors of both regions. Here are some of the key considerations, and these are the positive implications. The European Union Africa trade and investment policies can have substantive possible implications for Africa trade, such as enhanced market access to the EU for African agricultural products, which presents a significant opportunity for increased exports, providing a crucial avenue for economic growth for the African nations. The elimination of tariffs and quota restrictions under these policies facilitates a more competitive and favorable environment for African farmers, fostering agricultural development and improvement of the rural livelihoods. More so, the European Union's stringent quality and safety standards can incentivize improvements in the quality of African agricultural products, not only ensuring compliance with international regulations, but also enhancing the reputation of African exports in global markets. The EU's role as a source of foreign direct investment and technology transfer further contributes to the modernization of agricultural practices, supporting increased productivity and sustainability. Overall, a well-structured EU-Africa trade and investment framework has the potential to catalyze economic transformation, improve agricultural practices, and bolster the livelihoods of farmers across the continent. But we also have the negative implications, and some of these are the potential for increased competition from heavily subsidized EU agricultural products, which could pose challenges for local African farmers, potentially leading to market distortions and a loss of competitiveness for certain products. Moreover, the emphasis on meeting stringent EU standards may present a hurdle, especially for small-scale farmers, who are a majority in Africa, and also exporters who may struggle to comply with costly regulatory requirements. There is also a risk that the benefits of trade agreements may not be distributed equitably, with larger economies potentially reaping more advantages than their smaller counterparts, most of whom are in Africa and Uganda. At least 82% of Africa's basic food imports come from outside the continent. And in the East African countries, 84% of wheat, for example, the demand for wheat is met through imports. Therefore, dependence on the European market or the EU market may render African nations vulnerable to fluctuations in demand, global market conditions, or shifts in European Union trade policy. African countries is technology. Why should we use our natural?
We go native.
We go native.
Yes.
We are even better when we go native. So, African countries. Ladies and gentlemen, African countries need to balance the benefits of trade agreements with the need to protect their national interests, such as food security. of Africa's population experience food insecurity. Like in 2021, these are records according to UNICEF. This therefore requires careful consideration, proactive policy measures, and ongoing dialogue to ensure that EU-African trade and investment policies contribute to sustainable, inclusive, and mutually beneficial agricultural trade relations. Dear distinguished participants, as members of Parliament, we also know we have a role to play. We understand the pivotal role that our legislative bodies play in shaping and overseeing the implications of EU-Africa trade and investment policies on agricultural trade through multifaceted engagements. Firstly, in the realm of policy formulation and oversight, parliamentary bodies actively contribute to the crafting and review of trade policies related to the EU-Africa agreements. This involvement of policymakers ensures that such policies align with the national development objectives, foster inclusivity, and effectively safeguard the interests of the agricultural sector. In the East African community, for example, some of the laws enacted in support of agricultural trade include East African Community Competition Act 2006, the East African Customs Management Act 2004, East African Common Market Protocol of 2010, East African Community Common External Tariff, the East African Common Investment Area 2012, then the East African Single Customs Territory. There is also the East African Legislative Assembly legislation and national competition laws for the East African community countries. For instance, we recently passed the Competition Bill 2023, and it is awaiting assent by His Excellency the President. So that shows our resolve as legislators to ensure that the trade environment for Africa is online. There is also rigorous oversight by parliamentary committees, which we carry on from time to time, and this serves as a crucial mechanism for holding governments accountable, ensuring value for money, and assessing the impact of trade policies that are existing, and also promoting transparency in the negotiation process. Secondly, parliamentary involvement extends to stakeholder engagement, like the one you have invited us for today, where these engagements help us, and it acts as facilitation of inclusive consultations. When we put our heads together, then we share ideas on a better way forward on how to carry on with our EU-Africa agricultural trade. So by engaging with the diverse stakeholders such as agricultural association, civil society organization, local communities, parliaments, different entities, we gather a spectrum of perspectives. This inclusive approach ensures that the concerns and needs of various stakeholders are considered in the formulation of trade policies.
So today we are here to put our heads together to make the best of time that we have within our disposal. Parliaments also play a crucial role in advocating for budgetary allocation that support the agricultural sector, leveraging their power on the parts to influence resources for development, research, and infrastructure development. In tandem, parliamentarians monitor allocated funds, like I alluded to ensure efficient utilization and alignment with the outlined goals in trade and investment agreements. Lastly, in addressing disputes, parliamentary bodies and forums engage in regional collaboration, particularly within entities within the East African community, coordinating efforts to harmonize national positions. Some of us who are in this position, including my brother there and my nephew, sometimes we are invited for some of these engagements to our other East African community states. So that presents a unified front for us during negotiations and therefore enhancing the effectiveness of regional trade policies and agreements. Dear distinguished participants, the implication of EU-Africa trade and investment policies on agricultural trade intersect with several sustainable development goals. The trade policies can play a crucial role, for example, in addressing SDG 1, no poverty, by creating economic opportunities in the agricultural sector, thereby contributing to poverty reduction. On the SDG 2, zero hunger, is also addressed through inclusive and sustainable agricultural practices promoted by these policies, aiming to improve food security and nutrition. And then the SDG 8, decent work and economic growth. As the policies can generate employment opportunities and contribute to overall economic growth. Efforts to consider the interest of small-scale farmers in all our ingredients and vulnerable communities align with the SDG 10, that is, reduce inequalities. The promotion of responsible consumption and production practices in agriculture connects with the SDG 12, that is, responsible consumption and production. Additionally, sustainable agricultural trade practices contribute to SDG 13, that is, of climate action. You know the challenge that we are currently having with the effects of climate change. And SDG 15, life on land, by fostering environmentally friendly farming methods and promoting biodiversity. Lastly, the collaborative nature of this policy involves partnership. That is SDG 17. Between governments, international organizations, and various stakeholders to achieve common goals related to agricultural trade and development. Dear participants, in conclusion, as we move forward, I urge all of us to spend quality time to actively contribute to the discussions of today share insights freely, collaborate towards the formulation of informed and actionable recommendations. I believe at the end of this meeting, we shall all put our heads and thoughts together to come up with recommendations that will meet the objectives of this engagement. Our goal is to ensure that the policies governing EU-African trade relations align with the principles of inclusivity, transformation, mutuality, and sustainability. The insights and decisions that emanate from this dialogue will undoubtedly guide the trajectory of our agricultural trade relations with the European Union. Finally, let us leverage this moment to craft policies, ideas that not only protect the interests of Ugandan farmers and stakeholders, but also position our nation as a key player in fostering a sustainable and equitable EU-Africa agricultural trade relationship. With those very many words, once again, I want to thank you for your attention. I pray that we spend the time we have for quality discussions. I wish you a very good and constructive deliberation, and I would like to declare this meeting open for God and my country. Other engagements, the other side, but I trust my colleagues whom we always work with. In the event that I conclude the other side before you conclude here, then it is a short distance. I will still run and catch up with you. Thank you so much. God bless us.
Thank you so much, Honorable Okori, Janet Moy, Chairperson Committee on Agriculture, Animal Industries and Fisheries. That was really insightful because she took us through where the relationship comes from, the EU-Africa relationship. It's actually not just with Africa, but with SCP countries, Africa, Caribbean, Pacific countries, and Africa is part of the SCP. It dates from the Lomé Convention until the Cotonou Agreement was renewed. And she mentioned that that relationship is not devoid of challenges. There are some challenges. And just fast forward, she hinted on the new measure directives that are coming from the EU and with far-reaching implications on the agriculture sector. However, she also underscored the fact that the measure could be an incentive for us to up our game in terms of meeting standards. Because even under the existing market arrangement, everything but arms, we can all attest to the fact that we failed to meet precise standards. And on many occasions, we've actually self-imposed, a ban, several bans, because we can't meet the sanitary and phytosanitary standards. And so the issue of standards is critical and central to the trade. However, all is not lost. I think at SEATINI, what we are advocating for is promotion of equitable and transformative EU-Africa trade relations. And I think as we deliberate, a number of proposals will be shared for us to see how to make the relationship equitable and transformative, so that the gains can trickle down to the smallholder farmers, to the people at the bottom, but also to all African countries, because the relationship has been tilted to benefit more the other side of the EU and not Africa. Because we all appreciate that we are predominantly exporting primary commodities, but how then can we export commodities that fetch higher rewards so that the trade is balancing? If we are importing more and exporting primary commodities that only fetch meager rewards or returns, then really the trade is not balanced. So as we discussed, we should also be able to contribute to some proposals that can make this trade balance. I would like, without further ado, I would like to, before inviting the next speaker, to recognize some other distinguished participants who joined us. Honorable Ogon Cyrus, you're welcome. Ms. Jacqueline Arena, you're welcome. Distinguished participants, you're all welcome. And there are some online participants because this is a hybrid event. There are online participants that already joined us. And I would like to recognize all those who are online. But allow me to mention those that I managed to capture by the time I checked online. There is comrade, a colleague, Professor John Sumilias from University of Helsinki. He's a professor of production economics and farm management. So we work with University of Helsinki under the Making Agriculture Trade Sustainable, the MATS program. We also have Huizen Chen, who is also online, but she's also under that consortium of Making Agriculture Trade Sustainable. We have the media fraternity, some comrades from the media fraternity who joined online. We also have Lino, Isila, online. Among other participants, I'll be recognizing as we go along. And allow me to invite Professor John Sumilias from University of Helsinki to be speaking to EU's directives and their implications on agriculture trade in Africa, but not to serve us. Tea is served at the back and we'll have the working tea because time is really of essence and we can't afford to break up to have tea, yet time can't wait for us. So, Professor Sumilias, please confirm that you can hear me.
Thank you, I'm hearing you very well.
Thank you. We can also hear you loud and clear. The team that is managing live streaming, we need to see Professor on the screen.
So I'm sharing the screen now here. So the presentation is confirm that you can see this presentation.
Well, give us a minute as we fix this.
Yeah.
So, Professor, thank you for joining early and staying around until this time when you're going to make the presentation. But just to introduce a few participants who joined us. So this small stakeholder dialogue on the implications of the EU-Africa trade and investment policies on agricultural trade has brought together a multiplicity of stakeholders, including policymakers from Parliament of Uganda. We have agricultural chain actors. We have the media fraternity. We have technocrats from relevant ministries, departments, and agencies. And we have commissioners. We have a commissioner from Ministry of Trade, Industry, and Cooperatives, External Trade. We also have representative from National Planning Authority. We have a representative from Uganda Coffee Development Authority, among other distinguished ladies and gentlemen who have joined us for this important discussion. And maybe before you start us off with your presentation, I know the feeling from the room is that they would like to see your face. And I'm just trying to re-echo.
Yes. Yes. See, I think this any kind of flexibility might be.
We haven't seen your face. We can see the screen, the slides.
Okay. but if you want, let me see now this. So now you see my face, I think, yes, but okay, share screen. Just a minute. Can you see it now?
We can actually only see the slides. We wanted to see your face before you start us off.
No, I have to say that I have actually think I don't know why I don't see my face because I have actually the screen. I see myself in the sort of screen.
Could you first unshare? Could you first stop the sharing? Yes, then we can see your face and then we move along.
Yeah. Just a minute.
I'm only a messenger, but it's the distinguished ladies and gentlemen in the room who want to see your face.
Yeah, I understand. I'm going to stop sharing here, okay? No, stop sharing. Can you see my face now? You see me?
No, not as yet, but we are hopeful that we will see your face.
Okay, let's see. I'll try again. Okay, it's good. So yeah, there are some coffee bushes from coffee trees from Tanzania. Thanks. Okay, so let's look at it strong.
We are trying to fix something. I think the team that is live streaming are only connected to have the slide relayed, but let's just use another.
So you don't see my face now.
Maybe you could have the slide on the side and the camera also showing your face. Just that are the selection. Yeah, it's ours actually.
Okay, yeah, so I'm waiting. Tell me when I can start. Okay, maybe just start with saying that I'm very, very sort of happy to have this possibility. Dear Executive Director, dear Chairperson of the committee, dear members of Parliament, dear Commissioner of Trade, and all honorable participants in this meeting. I'm very happy to be able to share some results from case study 1 in months, which is called Reducing Poverty Among Smallholder Farmers through Enhanced Trade Regimes and Value Chains for Coffee in Tanzania. This has actually, the main writer is really Nema Kumbur, who is arriving here in Finland today. I'm going to head to meet her in 5 hours. But I could mention to you also that we have a similar case in Uganda, which is not ready yet, and my colleagues from Makerere University, Rosemary Di Sotto and Alice Turina, at some point there, I'm certain they will be happy to share the results from that one. Okay, I don't have much time. So please, can you see the objectives here? You see it? Objectives.
We can see the objectives. Please proceed.
At the same time, we want to identify and analyze domestic government measures and international standards regimes that have a bearing upon trade or reducing poverty among coffee smallholders in farming. So I'm going to a little bit concentrate also those measures which are affecting trade in Tanzania. Also, we had to sort of assess the adoption of fair trade practices and cooperation human rights perspective in the coffee value chain strategies in Tanzania for attaining the SDGs 1, no poverty, 2, no famine, 3, sustainable consumption and production, climate action, and so forth. So, and then I could shortly mention about the methods here in Tanzania. We employed a mixed methods approach. Basically, we have partly done a survey with 150 smallholder coffee farmers from 4 different districts, partly in the Kilimanjaro area, partly in the southern highlands of Mbeya and Chongo districts. So those are 153 farmers. We have calculated gross margins from coffee production. Then we have also had a discussion with sort of 15 official key informants from the Ministry of Agriculture, the Tanzanian Coffee Board, the Agric organization, Ministry of Trade, exporters and processors. And we have also discussed with to estate owners of coffee. And in addition, this analysis has been complemented with 5 focus group discussions with representatives from cooperative societies in Kilimanjaro, Mbeya, and some other areas. So this is about the methods. So going to the sort of findings now, I'm going to be quite brief. First of all, from the farm survey, where we calculated the gross margins of the coffee producers, we had 150 producers whose average coffee production was 290 kilogram per producer a year. The maximum coffee producer produced 320 kilogram, and the minimum was 4 kilograms. The average output per coffee tree was about 0.65 kilograms, so 656 grams per tree. Average coffee price was 5,162 Tanzanian shilling, which corresponds to, in US dollar, $2.25. So the average revenue per tree in this area was about $1.20. Then if we deduct the marginal cost from this, first the average agrochemical cost, which were 19 cents, and then the total cost for labor, sorting, and other things, which is 14 cents, we get the gross margin per tree, which corresponds to US dollars 87 cents. The average gross margin for smallholder coffee producer was 367 US dollar. And this amount is actually bigger than the average amount these households spend on purchasing food. So we conclude that the coffee production has a clear bearing on sort of reducing poverty in Tanzania. I'm really trying to be quite brief now. Then going to what's maybe more interesting for you, actually, these different kind of standards, domestic and international standards that have a bearing on trade. First of all, if I go to the national ones in Tanzania, there is quite much has been done in Tanzania. There is sort of a Industrial Stabilization Forum, Coffee Research Institute. There is also, quite importantly, the
Hello, Professor.
Producers. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes, we can hear you. We're kindly requesting that you do slideshow for the team, the audience here to follow closely.
So I do slides like this. Can you see it now?
That's better. Thank you so much.
Okay, you didn't see it, okay. These were actually the sort of gross margin which I sort of showed earlier to you. I will send you the slides. So, yeah. So gross margin were here. Anyway, the domestic going back to Tanzania, we spoke to the sort of farm manager at Chibwa Estate, which is producing about 600 hectares of coffee trees. And he was telling that they pay a fee of Tanzanian shillings, about 200 Tanzanian shillings per kilogram to the government. In my calculation, this is about 4% of the coffee price, which is 5,100 Tanzanian shillings, or $2.24. Then there are many kind of regulatory efforts which are mentioned here, and you can say that that these form kind of a problem for those who export, and there is quite many different things. Then when we go to the international standards, we can note that 93% of Tanzanian coffee is sort of exported. And the export is affected by international trade schemes like the African Free Trade Agreement. And to conclude, really, the sort of under the Everything But Arms agreement, the EU, the coffee enters the EU on the following conditions: is duty-free, quarter-free, that you need to have a proof of origin, determination of origin, the transport provision. You have importing, marketing, laws and voluntary standards for all coffee in the market. There are a lot of standards which aim is to sort of safeguard consumer health in European Union. But taken together, this very complex nature of the international coffee trade standards and marketing, it has completely alienated the smallholder coffee producers from potential benefits of the international coffee market. And to make a little bit clearer, this is there are actually 40 steps. When a coffee producer starts exporting coffee, there are 40 steps that fall into 11 procedures. So there are, in Tanzania, 46 documents are required for various parts of the export process. from 15 different institutions. So our estimation is an exporter who would start this for first time, it would require 9 days at minimum. But it may take up to 29 days to comply with all this process. And they're quite high cost. We calculate that the cost of these sort of meeting all these processes is something a little bit less than $1,500 more than $1,000 This is our estimate. So then going to more into the sort of fair trade consideration and human rights, there are many kinds of certifications, voluntary certification schemes in Tanzania, organic, fair trade, this Starbucks certification, the UT certified and reference alliance, and you can say that speaking with sort of these the representatives of the coffee estates, Chiba and Mashale, the big plantations in Kilimanjaro area, they noted that they get better prices and it's worth doing it. The Chiba farm, they are part of this sort of rainforest alliance, whereas the Machare farm has an organic label. But in order to follow this compliance, it was quite costly and do not cover the cost all the times. So farmers are really over-regulated in this process, and they are 50. So really, and this is something coming both from the small coffee producers and the sort of who are working through cooperatives and these big estates. So one thing I could say also is that it's quite clear that the rules which much come from the European Union, they are really like they're quite far not understanding the realities of the sort of small coffee producers. So that's really a problem, like those persons setting these standards, they don't understand the implications that grassroots level. So it was quite really something quite clear, which is quite difficult. I'm not completely sure how much time we still have, but we were also sort of checking upon this labor, the consideration of human rights perspectives and the sort of so actually, you could say that the states are quite aware of both, their mental standards and the labor regulation standards. For the labor regulation standards, the maximum working hours for employees, which are 8 hours. On the other hand, interviewing the chief of state manager, I realized that the sort of temporary labor who are sort of, they have up to 300 persons collecting temporary labor. They get paid per sort of kilogram of coffee. So it was a little bit unclear how this was working. And so to say, this is my kind of a conclusion that fair trade programs are expected to provide guidance and benefits to smallholder farmers, but by making consumers pay premium price to promote social and economic change. That these programs really often lack of understanding on the realities of the smallholder farmers, and lack of transparency and information asymmetry in the food value chain is inhibiting realization of the benefits of fair trade programs to smallholder farmers. And hence they get limited consideration for human rights at lower end of the coffee value chain, and also fail to enjoy benefits of the digitalization in modern world. I'm not sure if I have any time more, so maybe I leave the floor for questions rather. Thank you. Please. Please.
Thank you so much, Professor John Semelias. I think he deserves a round of applause. Thank you so very much. And from where you ended, with the conclusion, analyzing that fair trade programs sometimes are not fair enough. The benefits don't trickle down to the smallholder farmers. I think
exactly.
Yes. I think we'd like to start on that note, and I know one of the very passionate coffee value chainer is tickled by that, and I know there are some contributions that are going to come in from the participants here in regards to sharing perspectives and contributions to the presentation that you've already made. I think without further ado, I'd like to invite the participants here to make their contributions, compliments, supplements, and additions analysis of the presentation, and any other additions that you'd like to make. I'll move around the microphone. Thank you. I'd like to start with our professor. I'm starting with Honorable Ogon Cyrus, he's a member of Parliament. He has some insights to share. Thank you.
Thank you. First, to appreciate Professor for a very good wonderful presentation. We're happy that technology is able to make you travel even when you're at home. So, thank you so much. One, the topic for discussion this morning is so crucial for Africa. Africa needs it more than EU. And because I sit in Parliament, I know what it means when we talk about the EU-Africa relations in terms of food security, agreements, trade, and it is very important that everybody in Africa gets concerned. I wish we could find a way of taking most of these discussions to the entire population. Most of the people do not understand these agreements when we talk about them. Others even don't know whether they exist or not. So we live life to chance. For that matter, maybe when time comes, Professor, you need to come down to Kampala so that you speak to more members of Parliament. We are more than 500. So capacity building in terms of knowing the relationship between the EU and Africa, in terms of trade, in terms of agriculture, these policies, investment, needs to be grounded in the members of Parliament. As we are ESC, we are talking about the regional blocks. And we are trying to look at East African community. And we cannot do much in isolation. We now need Kenya, we need South Sudan, we need everybody on board. So the East African Parliament at the national level need to grasp understanding of the agreement. We can be able to debate at the same pace. There, things will be able to change. So for me, if I can be able to get that written material, so that I can go down and continuously revise and understand your work. Otherwise, it has been very clear. I want to applaud SEATINI for having given us this opportunity to share with you. And I know, because of what you have brought on board, we shall be able to open our eyes. Because at the end of it, even domestication of the treaties, agreements, conventions, should happen at Parliament. Members of Parliament need to know exactly. And we must align our interests to what our Constitution says, our ruling party manifesto, our National Development Plan, the SDGs, of course, all the frameworks, and that will make a change for us. Thank you for SEATINI for giving us that platform. Thank you so much. God bless you.
Thank you, Honorable Ogon Cyrus. I would just like to re-echo to Professor John that Honorable Ogon Cyrus is actually underscoring the role of national and regional assemblies, the national parliament here, but also at the East African community level. He's underscoring the role of IALA in providing oversight and also shaping these policies. And he's actually inviting you and all of us that work in this sector to continue to do what we do in strengthening their oversight role, because a lot of information is really not reaching them, and even in the form in which it's relayed, it's too technical for them to appreciate, because we appreciate that policymakers, members of parliament, political leaders, so they come from different fields. And so these issues might not be issues they have interacted with. So enhancing their capacity also contributes to helping them to deliver on their mandate. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm Irene, coming from Irene Akamate from Makerere University on the maths project as well. Thank you so much for the presentation from Tanzania. And I don't know if it would be possible for you to share the slides as well, since they were not a bit clear, so we could be in position to synthesize more and understand better what's going on in Tanzania. That would be great. My very one question is, from the results findings from Tanzania, what is the adoption status of fair trade and human rights perspectives particularly in the coffee value chain, as regards achieving these SDGs that you actually pointed out as 1, 2, or something?
Encourage us to understand the national development process of this country and acquaint ourselves with the national development plan. That is the
So I was just sharing that we are cognizant of those dynamics, and there is a position paper with deeper details on the same. Just that because time is of essence, we may have to get back to Professor for him to share, and then we can engage later. I'm sorry for being a dictator, but really time is running. Professor, back to you. There are many issues that have emerged from the audience. I'm not sure whether you were able to capture all, but we invite you to respond to some of the issues that have emerged.
Yeah, I have to say there were some technical problems here, so I could not hear.
So there is the issue of traceability that Ms. Arinda Jacqueline raised. She's the CEO of Jada Coffee. She raised the issue of traceability. How is it? How did you go about the same in Tanzania? How is Tanzania's situation in terms of traceability? Because we appreciate that for us to meet the EU, the broad spectrum of directives require us, especially the CS3D, to meet traceability requirements. From her point of view, she buys from the farmers, but she may not trace to the last end of how traceability really unfolds. Thank you.
Yeah, I have to confess that my sort of, I'm not really, I don't have an answer here how it works. I'm sorry. I think my colleague Nema from Muru might be in better position to answer this. So if you, I suggest that you send me an email and I can respond to that by when I meet Nema. So I put my sort of email here in the chat and could provide you an answer later, but I cannot answer this question now. So my email is in the chat. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. I will request that you stay around because we'd like to call on you anytime we have any issues that we feel you are best positioned to respond to.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I know the traceability thing. I will try to sort of, I will try to find out that.
Actually, from the room, there is one of the experts who would like to respond to this issue, but we may all contribute to the same.
Yeah, actually, MP is actually working with the Science and Technology Secretariat to develop the coffee value chain paper. Incidentally, it was supposed to have met today, but the meeting was postponed, and that's one of the key issues that has actually come up because traceability is very important, and the process is actually, it's one of the bottlenecks, you know, because the movement of cross-border trade, aspects of cross-border trade need appropriate documentation and traceability. So from the planning perspective or from the government side, those are things that the various stakeholders are going to be engaged in to ensure that we do not have issues of variety mix up, you know, along the value chain of coffee. So rest assured, this paper will definitely be published once it is owned up also by the office of the Prime Minister, and we shall be able to come up with general objectives and then look at work plans, detailing on aspects where we shall be able to overcome various, bottlenecks in the coffee value chain. Of course, it's not only traceability, that affects coffee. Farmers are involved in premature harvesting of coffee berries. We have aspects of infrastructure. So definitely, it is something that I will have to re-echo when we go back for our engagement in developing this coffee value chain paper. Thank you.
When we made the Coffee Act, I think that was 2017? 20? Yeah, it was in the 10th Parliament. By then I was in the Committee on Agriculture and participated in that law. So the issue of traceability is one of the matters which was properly handled in that what? Two, the issue of having raw beans mixed up with stones, handling, everything. So I will implore the House, let us get in touch and find out in that particular act, what is it that is handled and what was left out. So even as we talk about getting the concept paper, please refer to that what? Because my feeling is that probably what we need to do is to implement the law. The law is already there and it's talking about everything. Because we have a standing law already coffee. It is there. So it merely answers all those questions. If there is need for amendment, you will be able to come back and say, Parliament, amend this one. But I suspect everything in that law. Thank you.
I would also like to share. My name is SEATINI from SEATINI, Uganda. I think from the discussion that has been there over the CS3D, UCDA has a system that they're trying to develop to also enhance that aspect of the traceability. So possibly, maybe you'll be able to still share, but it would be good seeing that most of the institutions from government regarding the regulation, the e-regulation, and the requirement for supporting us, because we need all the support and we need all the stakeholders like NEMA, like Ministry of Water and Environment to control the deforestation, because even though you do the traceability, if the deforestation is not stopped, that means you're just addressing one part of the problem. Thank you. Thank you so much. Actually, I read the act and I agree with all of you, but the reason I brought this question was to shed more light and ask ourselves, do we have time? Because we've been singing this song. Does EU know that we have sorted ourselves such that we do not fall into a situation where we are banned from exporting? Why? Because we have late to register, we have late to put our house to order. That is the question of traceability. It's not that I don't recognize the efforts that UCDA is doing. I do. But my question is time. Do we have time? And is EU, on the other hand, also understanding our situation so that they buy us more time as we sort ourselves? Because compliance is not something you wake up in the morning and you say, I need this and it will be that. No, it won't be like that. And our farmers as well, Honorable, like you said, we need more politicians on radios not to talk about people power or FDC or something. We need more of our members of parliament to, in most cases, actually make the work complicated for us, the players. By the time I explained to my farmers that the Coffee Act was to protect them, they had already listened to you because they voted you. They listened more to you than us, the business sector. So it is important that every member of parliament breaks down in the local language. Every time you're on radio, at least throw in something that they can take home. Tell them that it is important for them to register. But not only to register, we know people who even feed the government wrong information. Why? Because there is an assumption that URL will come after you. So if they register you, they will come after you and take your land. But we need you to inform the farmers that it is important for them to register and tell us who they sell the coffee to. I buy coffee, but I can tell you, if you ask a farmer 2 questions, they will move with their coffee. They will say, I think you're asking a lot. In fact, they will say, for you, are you baker? What? The coffee is here. It meets your standards. What do you want? Even when you ask for farm visits, because for us we do farm visits, if they will tell you, call me when you're coming. Let me know what time you're coming. They arrive a different day. They will tell you, why did you come today? I told you to come another day. So even the people collecting information, they must also be ready to know that they might be fed wrong information. Thank you.
Was so huge because the bigger section of society believes that this law and provision was for purpose of tracing who is about to sell coffee, so that we lay the percentage of 30% or so and you pay. So people started to do like this. So probably from the pulpit, the bishops can speak better and people will accept. And in this communication, I don't know how EU does it. If you bring those papers with the EU made papers, and if we photocopy them at people, they will believe. Otherwise, after tomorrow, they will continue thinking it's about URA. Because of this, URA have gone up the villages. They have scared our people. Everybody is now shrinking. And that's the reality. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable. I think the issue of traceability is really a heated issue, and I would like to thank Commissioner Mr. Okot for elucidating on the same and sharing with us the plans that have already been undertaken and those that are underway at the ministry level. But also I'd like to thank our comrade from National Planning Authority, that they're developing a position paper on the implications of the Corporate Sustainability Due Diligence Directive on Uganda's coffee sector, but also to request that SEATINI already analyze the CS3D. We have a position paper. Allow us to feed into that process. We'll share the same with you. And also to thank Ms. Atkunda for also sharing some insights to put us, to put these issues into perspective, because there is a lot of information that needs to trickle down to the farmers. Traceability is a big issue because we appreciate there is the EU market, and a lot of our exports go to the EU, including coffee, actually, coffee being on top. How then do we meet the requirements, traceability being on top, but also issues of capacity building? Maybe we may also have to talk about the capacity building by the EU to Uganda. As we also discuss capacity building by government to the value chain actors, but also how can the EU help us to meet the requirements of traceability? Because the relationship has to be mutually beneficial and also equitable in a way. Because if they are demanding, and we are the ones on this other side, resource constrained, so I think there's a lot that we can discuss around that. And without taking a little time, I would like to usher us into the next session. The program was adjusted a bit, as earlier communicated. I would like to invite Mr. Richard Okot Othello, Assistant Commissioner, External Trade, Minister of Trade, Industry and Cooperatives, who will be speaking to leveraging the African continental trade area, promote agricultural value chains. We all appreciate that we are building momentum towards trading under the AFCFTA, which is the African Continental Free Trade Area. And the ministry has been invested in this process. And Mr. Richard Okot's presentation will also take us through enlighten us on the plans that have already been launched and those underway towards leveraging the AFCFTA to promote agricultural value chains. Mr. Richard Okot, allow me to take you right there to the podium. Thank you.
Thank you very much, SEATINI, for once again bringing us together to have a conversation on how to leverage agriculture for inclusive socio-economic transformation for Uganda. Once again, good morning to you all. Also wish to thank our honorable members of parliament for taking their time off to come and be with us as we discuss this very important topic. Without protocol controversy, I recognize everybody here in different capacities. You are welcome. Once again, let me contextualize the last discussion that the EU regulation is not only on coffee, it is on all agricultural products. Coffee has only just been singled out. And its ramifications is not only on traceability, but other related aspects that also affects us. That if your product was produced out of deforestation, it also has the same consequence of not accessing that EU market, which is a huge market. By 2022, the EU market was 817, actually 19 million US dollars for Uganda. And projections that was going to increase this year. And of this, coffee, which we rightly put, takes a big percentage. Coffee export to EU this year was 577, actually in US dollars. So that primarily puts coffee in number one position as our key export to the EU market. Although we export to the Africa, which is about 277 US dollars worth of coffee within the continent, still that cannot be compared to that lucrative market of the EU. There are other products also. That is why we need to be cognizant of application of this regulation. We have tea, which also goes to the EU. We have cotton, also goes to the EU. We have cocoa, which has become a very promising export product for Uganda, also going to the EU. Then, of course, oil seeds from your system, from your soybean, also going to the EU. For cosmetic related processing. I did mention tobacco and the many flower farms that have around the country. Also that goes to the EU. So it's a very important market for us. Nonetheless, it has also its own challenges that perhaps we need to address. Of the fresh fruits and vegetables, almost 90% of it goes to the EU. And one product that has faced a lot of challenges right from the kind of quality that we take to the EU. Most of it gets accepted. Not only accepted, but also destroyed at your own cost. And these are the serious issues. We have been operating under efforts. I mean, the continuing framework some time. Without we would count some better under efforts so that don't on what we call GSP, generalized system preferences and everything, the arms, which is unilateral. And if terms and conditions can be modified without consultation, like you see happening in AGOA. So we need something that is mutually discussed and agreed upon in the form of a substantive trade investment agreement under the EPAs, whose terms and provisions cannot be altered without consulting the other. That was the spirit under the EPA negotiations. Unfortunately, we have not gone far. And perhaps, as we speak right now, there are discussions at various levels on the way forward now to address the stalemate. Although in 2018, the heads of state mutually agreed that those who are ready to implement the EPAs can go ahead and implement under Article 7 of the EAC Treaty, which provides comparable geometry. It is on that spirit that Rwanda and Kenya are signed the agreement. But again, Kenya has gone far than that. Instead of implementing the original bilateral negotiated, they have negotiated something new. That is the difference. So the other parties were not involved in the negotiations. But the same decision of 2019 clearly states that EAC, if they don't negotiate, it should be collectively done with negotiated parties. So much as the agreement with Kenya and EU has been concluded, its implementation is still at stake. It's still within the Yala Court of Justice. I mean, the East Court of Justice. The head of state are meeting later this year will also discuss that. 27 December this year, the council ministers will be in Arusha, and on the agenda item is this particular item of Kenya EU partnership agreement. So the outcome, perhaps we shall get it on 2nd of December, after the ministers, the council ministers meeting. Hopefully, Zanzibar will be well and move as one. But since 2014, when the agreement was concluded, to today, a lot of things have happened that perhaps it necessary that the entire agreement is again reviewed or at best negotiated to reflect the current development that has taken place since 2014. Among them is the configuration of EAC, which has grossly changed by 2nd of December this year. So Mali is very there, but I think the council ministers will reaffirm admission of Somalia, which will make partner states join EAC, following DRC. So you see the configuration is changing, and that means everything is changed. Two, we revised our common external tariffs last year. And that fundamentally changes so much in terms of what was then negotiated under the EPA's agreement. We have the AFCFTA agreement, which has entered into force. That also complicates things. Within the African Union Assembly of States, they think that part should be a force that would disintegrate our perceived integration economically. So they think that AFCFTA, the African continent, should negotiate as one block, not differentiated blocks like it is currently. We have the South African having the EPAs, the African having the EPAs, the African having the EPAs, the terms and conditions are not the same. So if Africa is moving towards customs union, EPA roadmap under Agenda 2063, then they need to move together in all directions, including negotiating trade agreements other related frameworks for cooperation. So I just want to give an overview of ESC dynamics as per the concept not like it was. But we need to reflect that EU is not a market for Uganda's export. We know that a lot of products go to the Middle East, the West Asian countries, and also Uganda. I mean, Africa as well. I want to give you a small story about me when we were at discussing the issue of dairy products, powdered milk export in Kenya. A company minister, Kenyan, a colleague of mine, asked me, why so much your market? You mean you don't have your market that can sell your milk? It's an intriguing question, though. The Kenyan population is 5.1 million this year. Uganda's population is about 45.6 estimated. It's a difference just about 30 million. It's a huge population. But I find that our domestic that consumption of milk is almost 2% of what Kenya consumes from us. So it was a deliberate effort by the government to develop that market by starting to encourage children right from nursery to take milk, and they grow up taking milk. And for them, milk is something which is nice, they should take it. And it is nutritious for their own health. So why are we not also consuming milk? That's a question for you. How many people consume milk here? And how much per day? That's another question. And that also takes me back to another issue. When Mr. Kaffe said tea at the back says fine and good, it's a working tea. He qualified it. So when I was there, I always like for and you see everywhere for fruit, then for coffee. And when I looked there, I saw this nice coffee. And I checked, it was imported. Then the other was cocoa. Then the other one was also cocoa. They are all imported. So Ethiopia consumes about 40%. Actually, more 40% of their coffee domestic. And that's great. We don't do that. So what am I driving at? What I'm driving at that the national trade policy prioritizes the domestic market. It's a springboard for going to the international export market. So if we don't develop our domestic market, let's not rise so much. Let's first build our domestic. And it's huge market. In terms of population, I don't know whether the pocket also supports that. That's another issue that needs to be addressed. Is our per capita income supporting the population to be effective market or just population figures on. So the African Continental Free Trade Area, as it is at the moment, it is an active framework agreement for the 55 of the 54 of the 55 African Union member states signed it. Ratification now stands at 47. All the EAC countries have ratified except South Sudan. And if Somalia joins, Somalia has also not ratified the agreement. But if you the countries that have not ratified, then perhaps we begin to develop a picture. Libya has not ratified. Sudan has not ratified. So when you look at these countries, what does it stand out? Something stands out very central, common across these countries that are not ratified. Eritrea has not ratified. So what is the common denominator? All these countries. Lack of stability. So lack of stability is a real big challenge and threat to the integration. And perhaps in West Africa seems to be expanded. So what the seven countries have ratified? We have a total market of 1.3 billion people, which is huge. For a company to be profitable, you only need about 200 clients, serious clients, for you to be sustainable in your business. Here we are talking about 1.3 billion market. With total GDP of 3.4 trillion. Can someone tell me what the GDP figure for Uganda is at 2023 now? Can someone tell me without going to Google? It's about 160 billion US dollars as of 2023. Purchasing power parity criteria. So if you change economy. So we are talking about 1.3 trillion population, 3.4 trillion GDP market. So it is huge. What protocols have been concluded? Protocol on trade goods, protocol on trade services, then rules and procedures for settlement of dispute. Those three are fine concluded. Then those that have been finalized pending approval by the head of state are the protocol on investment, the protocol on petition policy, protocol on intellectual property rights, protocol on digital trade, and the protocol on women and youth in trade. Those ones were already done. We already had the implementation stage, I told you the agreement is already paused. And then the key instruments that are supposed to help AU in trading across the borders. That is the payment system, which is called the Pan-African Payment and Settlement System. We have the African Trade Observatory. That's supposed to help you identify where utilities have the products that you want to export. We shall have another. We have been doing it. Some of you perhaps attended the meetings. Will give testimony that we have gone through this, the rules of origin, the E rules of origin, how to compute it, the e-tariff books, the Pan-African Trade Observatory, the Pan-African Payment and Settlement System. These are online system platforms that helps you trade within FCFTA. So we are ready to trade. And you are preparing the private sector to trade. And that is why I've been telling people that we may have a comparative advantage in certain products. We may have a competitive advantage in certain products. But if we don't have the preparedness advantage, the readiness advantage, the fast mover advantage to trade under the FCFTA, then there shall be some observers for some time. So we are doing our best to get the private sector ready to trade under the FCFTA as an alternative and lucrative market of products. So what are the key export markets that we are talking about? For your information, the FCFTA, regional trade agreement, is not something new. The FCFTA simply bring additional markets on two already as easy and commercial. So we are looking at the North African markets, we are looking at the West African markets, and we are looking at South African markets. In the West, in the North African markets, we have Algeria that we have identified, we have Morocco that we have identified, and Tunisia. These markets are huge. They're huge in terms of their numbers, they're also huge in terms of their pockets. The FCFTA will not be pursued on a multilateral approach basis, but bilaterally. And we have started doing that. We have had bilateral engagement with Algeria. We have had bilateral engagement with South Africa. We are united more bilateral with Nigeria, Ghana, and then sub-Saharan countries. Sub-Saharan countries, South Africa's Union. It has the Lesotho, South Africa, Botswana, those countries, including Namibia. So those are additional countries. Those who participate in the bilateral Algeria will know the kind of products that we have fronted for trading under FCFTA. We have coffee. I think my lady, friend from coffee here will tell you it's a huge market. We are already exporting huge consignment of coffee. Morocco, Tunisia, those are other countries that are becoming heavy drinkers of coffee, including the Middle East. And Sudan, by the way, in Africa, Sudan was #1 export destination for our coffee. It's only a problem that they're still sorting out their issues. Perhaps when they finish, they will start drinking coffee also. So those are the coffee, tea, dairy products, poultry products, fruits and vegetables, cereals, which include maize, rice. We have legumes like soybeans and beans. Those are key agricultural products that we are aiming at exporting within the FCFTA. But are we going to continue exporting raw or processed products? No. So, like coffee and all other products, we need to add value. In order for us to get the real value that we need from our export products. If you do an analysis of our export, there is something that will clearly come out that 90% of our manufactured products actually is exported in the region. So the regional markets provide us with the basics and the motivation for industrialization, because that is where our mass industrial products are. So the FCFTA should be a beacon for further industrialization, which should come with having value addition to that agricultural product that we take there. And by the way, because we all produce the products, it's only right industrialization that can be able to differentiate our products, though we produce the same and sell. Those who are economics will understand what we mean by differentiated products. I can produce maize she'll be producing maize, but this is cereals. She'll be selling popcorns. It's still maize, but now our market is differentiated because of the added value and brand the products are now different. So industrialization becomes very imperative, and the African continental free trade area offers that opportunity to enable us industrialize. We have already as a country put in place a few implementation instruments and structure. We have a national implementation committee that is going to be constituted. Letters of invitation have been sent out. We want nominations. It's MDAs, academia, private sector, civil society be part of that implementation committee. It will be basically private sector driven, because there's one zone where the real markets are. We have a draft implementation strategy already in place. We are still discussing dates when to launch it. We have been undertaking numerous stakeholder consultation, capacity building, to enable us to be ready to trade under the FCFTA. We are part of the guided trade initiative, within which the Algerian Uganda bilateral engagement was undertaken, and we continue to do that. We had a consultative meeting recently, last week on 9th, on what kind of modalities we need to put in place to enable the micro, small and medium enterprises, particularly those in the agricultural sector, take advantage of market. And the thing here is having what we call setting up regional aggregation centers, particularly for agricultural products. And those regional aggregation centers for export products should also be rally points for investors who want to add value to those products. And those regional aggregation centers should have warehouses, should have facilities for sorting, grading, and packaging those products. It should have the various government institutions like UNDS, agriculture, and all others that facilitate trade to have their footing and offices there. It should also have what they call the logistics, transport, and others that enable the business of those products to the export market. It should also have a framework or entity that should manage it. Whatever name you call it, in Kenya they call it the National Export Corporation. Rwanda they have the national trading companies. Morocco have theirs. Kenya, Tanzania have various boards, the sugar boards, the cocoa board, and whatever. So we are also thinking about having an entity that help mobilize our products for export purposes. The configuration, whether it's going to be fully private sector, whether it's going to be private sector, government, and PPP arrangement, that is something that is ongoing. The private sector, we give them that assignment to go and have all discussions, then return to us as COS. We can further that discussion. So perhaps we should come to a point where we can have modalities in place that help us mobilize more effectively, particularly in aid of micro, small, medium-sized enterprises to be players in the FCFTA market. I don't want to take a lot of time. I have another meeting in a short while,
I beg to earlier here. But we can get responses. Then I respond to them too. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Commissioner, for staying with us. Although you have really very many engagements for the day, but I would like to just re-echo some of the issues that you alluded to, making the case for the ESC as the regional community, as a building block to trade under the FTA and trade under the EU. Because if we don't get it right at the national level or at the regional level of ESC, then we might not get it right at other levels. But also, the importance of the FTA market and also the ESC market, where 90% of our manufactured goods are within the ESC market. So that's really critical because we all appreciate that most of our exports to the EU are primary commodities. And yet, what we're looking for is also a market for our value-added products. Not to say that EU market is not important, it's important, but the conversation around how can also work our capacity to meet the measures and also the requirements is also critical to this discussion. But also, as we talk about the FTA, the Commission has talked about the preparedness of Uganda. Efforts are underway to establish the aggregation centers, which are critical, mobilizing MSMEs. The National Implementation Committee, SEATINI, was already invited to be part of the committee, and I'd like to thank you for inviting SEATINI and considering us as value members to be that committee. And I'd like to thank you for working closely with us, because we are civil society and your government, but constructively engage to the end that we are able to shape policies to the benefit of the broader stakeholders, including MSMEs. Without further ado, I'd like to take the mic around for all of us to react to his presentation and also be able to contribute to discussion. But before I do that, I'd like to recognize one of our partners, that's Jonathan Mason from Oxfam EU, under the Making Agriculture Trade Sustainable. Joined us online because this is a hybrid event, so we shouldn't forget about the other participants who are online. Thank you. With that said, I take the mic around. And also, we've been joined by Ms. Venta Mongera from the African Biodiversity Network in Kenya. And SEATINI is a member of the African Biodiversity Network. I'd like to have you. Thank you for joining us. We are now all invited to contribute to this discussion.
Love the way you pronounce my name. I think you said, oh God. The true Uganda. My name, oh God. Because there's a letter before, oh God. Yeah. And I represent the Kuku municipality. I come from Tanzania, where there are no coffee trees. But we consume coffee. We thought that at the time, somebody was advocating for education. I mean, teaching people how to take coffee. I don't know where commissioner and people like that. Don't know how people are learning how to take coffee. But I think I take seriously your proposal that let us start by building our domestic market, so that we use it as a stepping stone for us to go to the EU and the rest. And for me also as a leader, there is one concern. Sometimes we get concerned with regulations, requirements of EU, the standards for the EU market. But we forget that our people also need to be safeguarded. When Kenya makes noise about aflatoxins, for us we are quiet. But I think all of us get affected. We should also be concerned about standards. And not nobody should just bring anything to us, and we don't apply what standards. So to me, when we talk about the regulations, the standards, it is something very, very important. But I would love to call upon the UCDA to take that front foot. You need to guide us, guide Parliament. That is a lot. Most of now we talk about regulations from EU. How many of us understood them? It is a big thing. It's a big thing. Also, maybe you will start with the MPs from the coffee producing areas. Because maybe the money is not allowed. If you have these things, but we have those people from the bells, we cannot discuss something we not understood. So you need to bring it to us. Let's start from the leadership, so that we see what we can be able to do. We are talking about the regional blocks, but how far and how much we coordinate with East Africa? How MPs will sit in the Yala, for instance? What is their contribution to this discussion? What is their contribution to movement forward? For me, that's a concern. In the level of Africa, we have Uganda facilitated members of Papa in the middle of South Africa. What is the contribution they have to this? So we start at that level. So everything starts with legislation, approval of budget, what, because you cannot do without. So parliaments, national parliaments, regional parliaments, continental, do a lot. What about IPU? Uganda represented in IPU. What is their contribution in this debate? So, and then we did this, we did figures. So I don't know whether it's SEATINI or UCDA, which is supposed to be helping us with figures. That this time around, we saw this because of this. This has happened because of this. So we did it, everybody will come, but we must work as a system. Sometimes they have a plan, but we don't want to implement. We did start with the plan, we don't want to implement. Or else, actually, I don't know what we're going to do. NDP3, when we are reading, I don't know what I'm still on track, that we did what that book was talking about. Oh, we are going to run. Nobody is telling me about that. We're talking about NDP4. But before we go there, did we bridge the gaps? The program is by you don't understood by me. Yes. So we have the discussion, but it cannot be discussed in isolation. Yes. It has to be an integrated. So I want to thank you and the commissioner. As you talk about coffee, also thinking about this. What is it that we're going to give us to export? Is it cassava? What is it that we're going to take to EU? Is it sweet potatoes? Is it agricultural? What is it that you are planning for us on that side? We used to hear about the regional our blocking. Zoning. The mangoes, I think, have failed. I'm hearing there's a solution factory. Is it being sold? We take the gold. So, what is it that is there for us? Where are the zones? Because this is not about cocoa. There is cocoa. So, where is the cocoa region? Is it Musaka? And where is the sugar cane coming to the EU? Sorry, Papa, because I had a Papa there. Yet the sugar. So, those are the questions. Thank you so much. I know it's good to listen and sit down and listen and understand. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Egon. I hope Algon. I hope I'm pronouncing it better. He's underscoring the role of national, regional, and continental assemblies in this discussion. And the issues that he has raised over agricultural zones are critical, because if we don't really take them seriously, be able to deliver intentionally work around those products that we're taking to the EU, because trade, when we talk down trade, but what are those specific products? So I think the conversation is raising around that. But I would like to kindly request us, there is another item that is on the agenda that we request to move forward, because we would like to have a commissioner, but she has to join other arrangements. It's launching one of our studies In fact, the study partly forms the basis of this discussion. It's on the implications of the EU-Africa trade and investment policies on cocoa value chains in ESC. So I would like to prepare that ceremonial function of launching, and then we can proceed. Thank you. I think silence means consent. Thank you. So we are organizing just here at the front. I will do the launch. I now kindly request to have Honorable Ewan, our Cyrus. I'll get it right. I'm practicing. I'm taking the steps. So I'd like to request Honorable Jane and Commissioner. And I request to have Ms. Agunda. Because used to be really, yes. So that's Break the World. Break the World is a partner that is supporting us to undertake what we do, especially when we look at career and investment relations, they but also other. So I propose that before we do the launch, I request that the ED share a few insights to shed light on study so that we launch something a bit.
Ladies and gentlemen, for protocol observed, we undertook this study on the implication of the EU-Africa trade and investment policies, on the value, on the cocoa value chains in East Africa. We did it this side September 20. It has been ongoing for some time. Our finding really was how to transform the coffee industry. That we need investment and policies that are Afrocentric, that work for us, that issues which proportional are raised, looking at our domestic market, and then moving up. Those are the issues which we also included in here. Issues of addressing the supply capacity constraints, sustaining production, but also moving beyond bags of coffee, so many programs of coffee, to do the regional and global value chains, so that we can be able to add value to our coffee, so that we can be able to transform our coffee industry. And then also that coffee trade is not an end in itself, but to address issues of poverty, issues of rural transformation, issues of increasing incomes at national level, because our government needs resources, but also at household level. So, ladies and gentlemen, those are some of the findings from this study which we are going to be launched by the Commissioner. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, ED, Executive Director SEATINI. SEATINI is Eastern Southern African Trade and Negotiation Institute. Colleagues, I just want to make a slight comment.
I'll be very happy one day when I'll see the picture of the cover changing from what it is into processed coffee picture. So that it should reflect the aspect of the value addition that we aspire for, not necessarily beans as it is at the moment. I thank SEATINI so much for work that they're doing since I don't know when on improving trade environment, particularly institutions, on trade policy, regulations, and building capacity of main stakeholders in trade matters. I want to take this opportunity to behalf of the PS Ministry of Trade to launch this book, which I think should inform you about critical issues and recommendations on how to improve the coffee sector to where we want it to be. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. I think before you leave, I would like to show you the thanks for staying with us this morning. Yes, and thanks to the entire ministry for joining us in this struggle, because all of us like to see our trade becoming beneficial, even in the ends that the smaller farmers benefit, not only the other players. And you have heavily alluded to that the ministry is mobilizing MSMEs and furnishing them with information, and the National Implementation Committee for the FCA is also doing that mandate. Thank you so much. So we are continuing with our program, and I know a number of issues have emerged. We want to raise some concerns, but in the absence of the commissioner who is representing the PS, we can still be able to have authoritative voices from government. Because now we still have PCA, we have National Planning Authority, that's government. In fact, even EPRC, because EPRC is part of the Ministry of Finance, that's government. So we have government representation here, and issues will be heavily responded to. And right now I'd like to invite Ms. Akunda, monitoring and evaluation agent at UCA, to take us through the preparedness of Uganda to meet the EU directives, the corporate sustainability due diligence being one of them. The issue of traceability came up, and she's also going to be responding to some of the concerns that came up. And she will probably talk about even the deforestation directive, because there's a number of directives. It's not just the corporate sustainability due diligence, but there are other directives that we have to be able to appreciate, also meet, if we want to trade with the EU. Because without the same, we may not be able to trade 6 months from now for the CS directive. Thank you.
Thank you very much, moderator. I'm going to be mainly talking about the preparedness of the coffee sector to address the EU DR, that's the EU deforestation regulation, which specifies that going forward, the EU is one of the major export destinations for the coffee produced in Uganda. Will not be accepting coffee that has been grown on deforested land, and it requires that all the coffee exported to the EU adheres to the internal regulations in Uganda, and that every coffee exported, that every bag should have a certificate confirming that the land on which it was grown did not have any deforestation happening on it by the date of December 31st of 2020. And so, from all these, from the regulations, the question is, how prepared are we as a country and as a sector to address this regulation and ensure that our exports and export earnings are not affected? So for UCA as a lead agency for the coffee subsector, one of the measures that we put in place is to develop a geospatial system, and this geospatial system is to address these requirements of the regulation. And the first part of it is to ensure farmer registration. And the farmer registration will require registration of every farmer who grows coffee in Uganda, and beyond registering the farmer to also know how many lots of land are attached to that farmer. If I'm farmer A, for example, Armenia, they need to know how many lots of coffee I have, and then go a step further to map out and take the GPS coordinates and know the polygons of coffee, which are under my name. That way, when it comes to traceability, when I'm selling my coffee, the person buying from me will need to know which lot of mine this coffee I'm selling came from. So you can see the complications of this. It means that every farmer in Uganda needs to understand this regulation. They need to appreciate why government is taking this step to registration. Another step that will be involved is registration of all value chain actors who participate in the coffee value chain, traders, processors, exporters. As you very well know, our trade sector is mostly informal. We have the debe boys, we have who move around the village with a sack and just collect a basin, a cup, a kilogram. So those are the intricacies that are involved in this process, and that means everyone needs to understand their role. The local leaders, I'm glad we have a honorable here from Parliament. Our leaders need to know so that if someone comes and then talk about registration, and a farmer is, or these processors and traders are against it, someone needs to be able to explain. And they say something very good which I noted, and I'm going to take back to the office, to my boss who I'm representing, that we need to first by engaging the local leader, members of parliament, those are the top leaders, to understand what it is about, what are the implications. Because stakeholder awareness is key. It's the base of everything. For everyone to understand how am I affected. So someone might think, if someone might think I brought my coffee, I'm not affected, I'll sell to someone who doesn't need to be registered. However, 60% of the coffee in Uganda goes to the EU market. In the last financial year, our coffee exports, we exported 5.7 million 60 kilogram bags of coffee, valued at $846 million. And of these, $574 million is the value of the coffee which went to the EU market, which is around 68% of the value. So as you can see, they have a very big hold on us, and there's nothing that we cannot avoid. We cannot say that within 1 year we are going to evolve, we are going to now start consuming all our coffee, we are going to get a new market. It does not happen in a day. So number one step is to prepare for this. Another thing that is involved in this is ensuring that all this coffee is traceable. And as I explained earlier, for it to be traceable, it means everyone in the value chain has to be registered, so that if I'm selling the coffee to a trader, you get you know in his system that I bought this coffee, this bag is from Armenia, and this coffee is from this farm that she owns. When you go to the processor, you note that of all the 100 tons I bought, these are the certificates for all the farms that has come from, and the same from the export, from the processor up to the export level. And the exporter, when you export it, you have to declare that in this container, this coffee came from all these polygons. And then the EU, they are able to use their GPA, the system that geosense that does the you're able to tell which area has been deforested, because as you can see, they are noting that the land should not have been deforested before December 31st, 2020. But using these GPS maps, you're able to tell where there was a forest at that time and where there is no forest today. So you're able to know that this coffee came from a deforested area and it can be rejected. So that's why registration is so important. And I said earlier, stakeholder awareness is key, involving all opinion leaders, church, the cultural institutions to pass on the message, and everyone should be aware about this. Another key aspect is funding. Right now we have having a question of, because export companies are business entities, the first thing they want to do is go and do the registration themselves, have their own traceability system. But then we also have those who don't have the capacity to do this on their own. So UCA as an agency will also need funding from government to be able to implement this. And the funding in terms of staffing, the hardware, the software, we recently identified 3,700 parish coffee development advisors. These are lead farmers who can actually be able to do the registration at the lowest possible, since they are within their communities, but of course they also need some more facilitation to do this. We are writing proposals left, right, and center to get funding. There are some big export companies which are willing to fund, but they will only fund their area of interest. If they know that my coffee comes from Elwood area, they will only fund registration and setting up the traceability system for only the Elwood area. So that shows that the government needs to step up and actually fund this. But in the light of all this, there's still opportunities for us as government to know. And what is this? The first is that from this registration process, government would be able to know who participated in the cocoa value chain and be able to learn about this important value chain in terms of development. Another opportunity that will be with NEMA and in our water and environment coming on board. We also need to start looking at this deforestation issue in itself and be able to mitigate it, because as the earlier commissioner mentioned, the law is the regulations does only apply to coffee. It will also apply to all the other export commodities. So this also needs to be noted. Another opportunity that we know is that apart from expanding to new areas, already with the existing land where the coffee is grown, is not really producing maximum productivity. Like for the coffee where it's grown, it still has potential to increase productivity up to 3 times. And if you focus on interventions that can increase yields of the existing coffee trees, then perhaps we don't need to expand so much into new areas, but we can leverage by investing in programs that support increasing production and productivity on existing land and be able to increase our production by times 2. Taking us faster to our target of 20 million bags within 30 years. Another aspect is investing in value addition. This coffee subsector is also undertaking a study in its inception stage on how to the possibility of establishing a soft-soluble plant within the country. And so this is one of the opportunities that the government can look at, and other agencies like NPA to take interest and see on what is on establishing a value addition facility for soluble coffee within the country, and that will be able to retain more coffee and consume it at source, and also promoting local coffee consumption within certain. We will not have to look more at exporting our coffee but consuming it internally. So that is it for me on the steps being taken by UCA. And my key message is that we need all the support we can get from all the stakeholders, the social, the CSOs, the parliament, NPA, Ministry of Finance, to take interest in this. Apart from collecting revenue and knowing that coffee is one of the leading export commodities in the country. But if this issue is going to affect this export earning, then us as government we need to take a step to address this issue in time. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Amelia Tunda, the Monitoring and Evaluation Manager at UCDA, for sharing with us and updating us on efforts that have been undertaken, but also unpacking what the Deforestation Directive is and its implications on the coffee sector. From me, on a personal note, because I'm an interested party, and since I come from an organization that works with the constituency of farmers, I'm only worried that really the requirements, the criteria, really is not easy to meet. It takes resources, it takes preparedness, mobilization of government, and this cannot be isolated from other sectors because there is the intersection of other sectors. There is where they come in. We can't only say that it's the agriculture sector, but even water and environment comes in, but also other programs of government, because now we are working under program-based budgeting. I think it's critical that we engage or use the whole government approach. I know government has recognized the need for whole government approach, where all the agencies are sitting on the same table, and I hope that will be the approach for this directive and other directives. Because without the same, I don't want to spell doom, but we might lose the coffee that we cherish so much and lose the market. Because the requirements, honestly, the GGBS, because there is also a linkage with efforts to digitize Uganda. Although government waived, reduced the internet cost for public institutions, but I think the same efforts have to be scaled up across, because GPS works with the internet. We can't talk about GPS. And also from earlier submissions by the commissioner, he hinted on something to do with the PPP arrangement, that there is now, given that the government is constrained in terms of resources, there could be that approach to PPP. Because as I know, there are already established companies with technology that can help do that. But then even the PPP arrangement has to be traded cautiously, because we know that there are risks with PPPs if you don't trade cautiously. I don't want to... Okay, you want to...
CDA has developed a system, it is in place, and it has been piloted. We've engaged all value chain actors to look at the system and see if it addresses all the needs of every actor. So the government now is on rolling out the system. Because having a system in itself does not do the registration, but now we need people on ground, you need tablets for people to go. If you use like this parish PCC, the parish government advisors, to be able to go around and go from farm to farm, engage a farmer, take their details, walk around the garden and take the different points, such that you're able to form that polygon. So that is the step now that has, but the system is in place, it has been validated by value chain actors. The next step is now implementing and collect the data.
Thank you so much. We're now talking polygon. I hope Ms. Arinda Jacqueline is able to, follow suit and get to the polygon, because it's technical, but given that Ms. Amelia Tunda has already said that value chain actors were consulted, I know Ms. Arinda Jacqueline, being a key value chain actor, her issues and concerns were already addressed. Thank you. Now it's time to collect some malaria.
Thank you very much, Maria. Judith Barra is my name, and I do work with SEATINI. I appreciate the fact that you have developed a system, and it's going to roll out right now. I have heard that the system needs to have, I think that admits 3 people every day. You have to register 3, is that right? Okay. I have, yeah, but I've heard that it has the challenges of, I think you need, I had this $10 per person to register one farmer, you need $10. And I think also stated that you need a challenge, you have a challenge of funding. However, with us to comply to this directive, we only have 13 months to comply. How then have you, how is your farmer in Moment, for example, aware of this directive? How are they going to comply? What strategies have you put in place so that these farmers on, I appreciate you already said the parish people, but the capacity building of all these farmers to be aware of this these different directives really to take place is missing in my observation, but also how are other countries engaging? What are the initiatives? What are they doing? Because I'm aware that other Brazil, Vietnam, these people are already complying with these directives, and they're going to export and to the EU, and they take over the market. While our coffee, much as the farmers are right now doing farming right now, maybe our coffee will not have a market because 60% is a lot of market to the EU. What are other countries doing? Maybe we can have to liaise with them to see how to comply, because 13 months is a short time for us to comply with this directive. But also, I don't know if I have to have strategies in place to make sure that these old directives are mainstreamed in our national laws and frameworks. I don't know if you have such strategies. Thank you.
Thank you. I read your presentation, and to me, I think the issue of stability is really where we need to put much emphasis, because that's where the product or the commodity comes from. And we really need to appreciate the environment that we are working in. Even now, last month, we had a project and we were trying to map out maize and cassava fields, and we faced some resistance. You know, you tell the farmer after interviewing them that I want to go around your field and take the GPS coordinate. When it comes to that part, they're like, no, you want to take our word. So the environment now is that people are worried when you tell them that you want to, to take GPS coordinates or their, because this is likely to come up as you try to register a coffee farmer with their field. So you need to know that as you approach them. So I would suggest that you engage different strategies depending on the region that you're going to. Because when you go to Uganda and you want to visit people's farms, their interpretation is different from when you go to Uruguayan region or say Ankole region. So you need to develop different approaches to get what you want. Otherwise, people have different, attitudes. So I would also suggest that you work with the, say, Chagrin, for example. They are engaged with farmers for long, and I think when you go through them, it is easier for you to achieve what you want, because Chagrin can easily tell people, because they have engaged in them for years, so they have developed that trust, that loyalty. So Chagrin can easily tell them what you want to achieve than you go direct to them, because they see you as government. And when you come in that form, you are likely to face resistance. And also to ensure that you guarantee security to those plots as you go to visit these farmers,
you kind of guarantee security, kind of you have to work, you need to get a way of provide either like registration certificate, proof of ownership, something like that, to make sure that a person who's a coffee farmer and is going to allow you to step in their field, they are really sure that regardless of the information you take, still they have ownership of that field. It's not going anywhere, something like that. So the recommendations work with the Chagrin and other organizations that have been engaging with farmers. Let them be the one to reach the farmer and convince them to register. And then in other cooperatives, like in Masaka, there are cooperatives, farmers have engaged with them for long, they are bit trusted, so they can help you to achieve what you want. And then think about how to guarantee security of those products so that farmers are secure. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, Ms. Amelia Tkunda. My name is John Chwagalo. I work with an organization called Food Uganda, which is working to improve livelihoods of smallholder farmers. I just wanted to react on your presentation. Actually, this has been done. It's new to me. Like, it's my first time to hear about this. But the word directive itself, don't you think it is scary? Why am I saying so? If we are to capture GPS coordinates to the farm, to the plots of farmers, it means that we shall need to conduct some kind of field visits where we have to go to the farmers. Like now I need UCDA. And don't you think these farmers will be having a different perspective? I've seen this in so many smallholder farmers communities that you go there to take, even when the initiative is supporting them, because of the so many issues we have in the country, like land grabbing, they think that you have come to grab their land. Even as we go there to train them, just the mere asking of the farmer that how many acres do you have, or how many acres are you operating on, they will never tell you the truth. Because at the end they think you want to steal their land. So I think you should also critically look through this as you're implementing this directive. Now I have a question. You talked of a certificate which can even tell that this one has not practiced deforestation. And I'm asking, can a farmer get more than one certificate? Why? Because different smallholder farmers are in different plots. The farmer can have a plot in village X and a plot in village Y. In village X, deforestation has taken place. In village Y, everything is okay. How would that be solved? Secondly, there are farmers who are more comfortable in operating in cooperatives and groups, individuals. And I'm seeing that farmers are getting certificates individually. Have you also considered these farmers who already get even a half kilo of beans, just a half kilo of beans, and they take them to the cooperatives for them to earn that small money from the cooperatives? Are you also putting into consideration those farmers who are really cannot even be able to raise 5 kgs of beans, the red cherries? Just half kilo. You know, I've seen so many farmers who get it in a quarter and they be like, let me take it to my cooperative. So have you also considered those kind of categories of people? Thank you so much.
Maybe one thing I can say, Mr. Mary, is that I think from value addition on our side, we totally agree with the UCDA, and their work is actually easier. I think what they are lacking is money. Why? Because every coffee player knows where they buy their coffee. That's a fact. They know the person. So if you ask Gender Coffee, I'll tell you where you bought the coffee from. So you go and ask that person. Though I don't agree with you thinking that you will get only that information from the farmer. I believe you should also try on levels. If you start from the top and trace it down and do the same from the bottom. Because from Jada Coffee, I can tell you I bought coffee from maybe Madame Jen. So ask Jen, where did you get the coffee from? And then that brings in the question of monitoring. Because what we are struggling with, even me when I travel every single day, I'm sure every coffee player finds a new coffee player. You travel, you're like, you're also in coffee? They're like, yes. What are you doing in coffee? They tell you, like, we don't know each other. Yet we've been attending conferences, we've been attending workshops, we've been reporting, but we also don't know each other. So it's not only about farmers, it's the players from transport to processing, the roasters, and even these hotels, by now. Because if you ask this hotel where they get their coffee from, they should be able to tell you, do they buy it from Jackie? Do they buy it from who? So this is not an issue of GPS. This is not an issue of you going to the farm, because I can assure you, you're going to correct wrong data. On compliance, the issue from the farmers, if you show them, you usually give away fertilizers. I see you giving away fertilizers, tractors, and everything. There are so many ways to kill a rat. When you're doing that, giving a tractor, you say we are giving fertilizers to those ones that have more than 1 acre. Then you will see the ones that have acres. You ask them to show you the land so that you give them the tractor. But if you walk in and say, I want to know, they will not do that. Now, to answer your question is that they will have codes. So if the way you see every phone or every gadget has a code, if that code is not reflected in the system, then that means that your coffee, you got it from NASA certificate. So it will be much easier.
Thank you so much. My name is Augustine Olo from Makerere University, and I'm also here on behalf of the MAT Consortium. Now, I'll start with the last issue Jackie talked about, the compliance. Usually, I think if we could help farmers really get the benefits of coffee growing, by this I mean the cash really trickles down to them. I think the issue of compliance and this traceability of the thing would be very much easy to monitor. The biggest challenge we're having right now, I think about a month ago, also been understanding the coffee value chain. You find that the farmers are getting 5,000 shillings from a kilo of coffee, but when you ask the people who do the roasting and the processing of this coffee, they're almost getting 3-4 times the price farmers get. Yeah, we couples, but sometimes look at the value ranges. Sometimes doesn't make, I would say, a lot of bring a lot of pleasure among the farmers. So it demoralizes them, and so even when you do the registration and trying to do the follow up and everything, as long as the farmers are not receiving the actual benefit of them growing this coffee, it's going to be hard, and they will actually receive a lot of resistance in regards to this. And then the other thing is, I would also want to talk about the issue of the special interest groups. Talk about, for example, the women. Studies, for example, show women contribute over 60% of the labor in most of the agricultural value chains. Okay? But if you realize most of the benefits of coffee growing or coffee production usually ends with the men. Women just have the benefits. And that will also bring me to ask Madam Arena, how do you ensure that the women specifically, they benefit from coffee growing? Probably the man, because it's the one who's bringing the coffee to the market. But the woman is spending 70% of her time producing the coffee, right? So if you actually bring those special interest groups into the entire process of discussion, it will actually make it quite very easy for you to do the monitoring and all that in the coffee value chain. I was very trying to know about it. Thank you so much.
Are being shared. Some say much, others are saying later on in the year, next year. So it would be good if we could see that, but also the preparedness as Uganda towards this. If it is rushed or not properly streamlined, for its main objective really to see to it that also the smallholder farmers have their rights as well, being also addressed really in regards to seeing that they are also going to benefit. And most of the challenges that we have seen is also the mere price of coffee really is not really responding to how much really is taken in production, and so the smallholder farmers are really at a great risk to see how best they are also able to gain more value from joining this. So I would like if that could really be shared as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Amelia, for a very good presentation. Mine is also related to what's being really raised, the reality on the ground. And I want to go back to the issue which John has raised. That's the reality on the ground. Somebody selling 2 kilos, 3 kilos, somebody having some coffee trees within a banana tree, a banana plantation. And they are selling that. And saying that every coffee buyer, you know where you are buying your coffee. You go down the value chain because you go to the villages, everybody is a coffee buyer. Somebody is buying 5 kilos, comes with a tin, buys 1 kilo, 2 kilos to get a tin. And that's the reality on the ground. So how do we deal with that? And also the issue which Pena has raised, the timelines and the capacity of UCDA to be able to do what you have said, Amelia, you are going to do. When you look at the Coffee Act, it was passed in 2021. The whole issue of registration of all value chain actors, the nurseries, it was there. 2021, nothing was done. 2021. So how can we be able to do it now within a short time? So Amelia, what I'm asking, what's our plan B? What's our plan B? Because we need to have a plan B for our coffee. If EU says the traceability, that what you haven't complied, what do we do with our coffee? For me, I think, I don't want to be a trauma, but I'm being pessimistic that we can be able to register the farmers, do all those gadgets, the spatial, we can't. That's a reality. Whether in 6 months or 13 months, we can't. So what do we do? And then when we are looking at plan, the issue of cooperatives is important. Because when you talk about what did you call them? The parish, what they want. We go back to cooperatives. So there are things which we have to do differently. And for me, I think we need to think outside the box to be able to address this issue. Thank you.
Thank you.
I wanted to beg that I exit now, but as I go, I wanted to thank you so much. For me, my happiness is to be able to get a copy of this book. I have gotten it, and I think really it has a lot. And if we concentrate on the findings here and the recommendations, then we shall be on a track. Because I see most of the challenges which are raised here, the use of supply side inadequacies, use of climate change, the need for research. So I think all the key stakeholders need to come on board and play our part. Parliament should be able to provide money for UCDA to play its part. Parliament should be able to provide money for research to be done. Provide the tractor. Let us do whatever we can. But also, on the critical issue for traceability, I would request that before you go and you start registering people, don't go there and then meet resistance and then you come back to Parliament, you LFRs. Start with the software, because that mistake has been done by many MDAs. They first go down, you want to, because you have got money, you have the iPad, you have the what, you want to implement. You reach there, you hit a snag. After that, you come back. People, once they are resisted, will be difficult to convince again. So the best approach, in my opinion, is for you to work with the elected leaders, because people trust them. Let them first take the message, equip them with the message, they go ahead of you. Let's first prioritize the software before the hardware. There, we shall be okay. For me, that's what I think, because it seems like the traceability issue is the one which is leading this whole debate. Kenya, of course, is running, but we need to learn from them, like somebody observed. What lessons do we capture from them? Vietnam has been there. What is it that we can do? Is it possible to benchmark online or even going there? What is it that we can do as Uganda? But I think coming together under one roof like this was a good beginning point for us. We will be there. Thank you so much.
Maybe for me, my worry is that I don't know answer that this whether it won't happen, is that you are going to register the bigger farmers, maybe those who have maybe 5 acres, maybe 10 acres, and then you leave out the smaller ones. But if you are going to go for even those ones John is referring to, then it's gonna be a very uphill task.
But if you look at the law, I don't know. But the very tight one. And the requirement was that everybody, as long as you're interested in coming into the coffee sector, you must register. Because the smallholder farmers, those who own 1 acre of land, are the ones who can bring anything, and then they add it to the one which is good. There's really this issue of drying the coffee. We have put it in, you don't just dry it anyhow. Because we are serious, we are saying we must manage the coffee value chain from the grassroots, including even going to the garden. You check that act properly. So, and the minister needs to produce the regulations urgently. Urgently. That is the implementation we are talking about. How do we implement without regulations? Now, these regulations should be speaking to the regulations by EU. How do we compare the two? The act should be speaking to the standards by EU. How do we speak? How are they speaking? Is the language the same? So for me, that is it. We have to synchronize. Thank you.
Thank you so much, comrades, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I think a number of issues have emerged, and the discussion is not about to stop, but just to also give a chance to those who are online, because we had forgotten them. One of the comrades, Ms. Irene, raised her hand and she would like to submit. I request the team that is doing live streaming to have her relayed on the screen. Live streaming team. Hello, Miss Irene, are you able to hear? Maybe you could text her, like in the chat. Hello? Miss Irene Adong? You are muted. Could you please unmute and make your submission? I think silence means issues have been addressed. Maybe Chen, in case you have, we have a colleague, Chen from under the Market Consortium. Chen, would you like to make a submission?
Just, can you hear me?
We can hear you loud and clear. Please proceed.
Okay, hello everyone. Thank you, Children Chen. Sorry, our project partner, SEATINI Uganda, to organize this multi-stakeholder dialogue on the EU African trade and investment policy on agricultural trade. I think that this meeting has achieved the desired result and the expected outcome. So thank you all of you again. Can you hear?
You're welcome, Chen, and also to thank you and Professor John Sumelias for joining us, because you've already highlighted that your submissions were really re-echoed. The issues that you would have loved to share were already re-echoed by Professor John, and we truly appreciate for having you as the MATS partners, but also University of Helsinki, for joining us in this important engagement on the EU-Africa trade and investment policies and their implications on agricultural trade. And I think before we move to the last session of this engagement, colleagues, comrades, allow me to pass on the microphone to Ms. Amelia Atkunda from UCDA. I know she may love to respond to some of the issues.
Yeah, Professor Shumelius already left just now for other reasons. So yes, those case study submission, I think he will submit to he will share with the Huzaimer. And also I also add a little bit more. Our project case study also relate to the coffee value chain in Uganda. That's led by the partner Oxfam, I think Jonathan, and Huzaimer probably also know this, and then can get more this information from the Oxfam. It means a second case study related to this topic. I hope you can hear me clearly.
We can hear you, Chen.
This morning network some problem also, so sometimes I also missed some information from your on-site discussion. Sorry for that.
Thank you so much, Chen. So, colleagues, comrades, what our partner from University of Helsinki, Chen, is trying to say is that there's a case study that is underway. It's focusing on coffee, and from the earlier presentation by Professor John Semelias around the coffee and the implications and the efforts in Tanzania in regards to the preparedness of the country, because it's now based in Tanzania. That's where he presented from. So all these issues that have been shared here will feed into that. That's what she has tried to allude to, that it's work under progress, and as soon as the case study is concluded, the same will be shared with SEATINI, and obviously this is information that we post on our website. It can be publicly accessed, and for really to inform the different efforts that are underway. For example, the regulations that have not been developed, and the position paper by National Planning Authority, we will still share that information to feed into those important publications, policy documents that are being developed. Allow me now to pass on the microphone to Ms. Amelia Atkunda to make some responses, and then we will move to the last dialogue.
Thank you. I'll answer to questions many. Some I'm taking as notes for action and consideration. Yes, I'll be the first person to admit that the task at hand is very big. It's quite big, and someone once said that the best way to eat an elephant is to eat it in bits. And so with that said, I would like to note that one thing about this registration process, it's not just UCDA that's going to do the registration. I would like to make that clear. It's we are agreeing the consultation processes I've told you about. We're agreeing with stakeholders in the value chain on a way to have one unified identification system for registering these farmers and value chain actors. Now, once this has been agreed and concretized on, it means Madam Jackie, who has her farmers, can go and register with that same system, and UCD will not have to go and register those farmers again. Because if I try to register that farmer, the system will flag and say, this person is already existing in the system. So that means the exporters, once the system is in place, can go and register, and then we'll get farmer organizations on board, as someone noted, to do registration. But we should also remember that only around 30% of Ugandans belong to farmer organizations. So we have very many smallholder farmers who do not belong to farmer organizations. But yes, this is not going to happen in one day. It's going to be systematic. But one thing that is key is that UCDA should take the lead, and then we have one unified system. That way, if this data is, the registration is done by anyone, another person does not have to go back and do the same thing with the same farmer. So this will avoid duplication of efforts and also save money. So I wanted to make clear the unified system. About the biases, someone talked about farmers refusing due to register. This is very true. Even with M&E and data collection, someone will tell you about their coffee and you'll say, how many coffee trees do you have? Can we walk around and just to do an estimate? The person will really look at you like you're crazy. But this is what I'm happy about, that we had a member of parliament here and they're willing to support. I think this is very key to get all opinion leaders on board, for them to support the process of sensitizing the public, for them to really understand what this is about and how it's going to benefit them. And this is the approach and road that UCDA is taking. Can a farmer have more than one certificate? No. This is what I was explaining, that once a farmer, if I'm registered as farmer A, they'll register my plots, which I call polygons. Okay, I'll use plots because plots are easier to understand. They'll register the number of plots which I have, which have coffee on them, and all these are going to be tagged to me. So the essence is not to register the farmer, but to register the plot. We are only registering the farmer in order to tag the land to an individual. But EU did not ask for farmers. They just want to know the plot where the coffee is grown. And for you to be able to trace it and have that unique identification where we're going to use the name, that's why you need the farmer in order to register their name and use it as a unique identifier. So we are not ready, and the regulation is going to help that, because it already gives UCDA the mandate to register all stakeholders in the coffee value chain. Yes, you're going to engage everyone in the because everyone in the industry who sells coffee is actually very much interested in registering their farmers. So once the system is on board, I think the rest will be easy. Like Madam Jackie also mentioned, we need resources, because if these resources are available, that means that even because we know we have different kinds of stakeholders in the sector, we have exporters which are multinational companies that have deep pockets and can actually go, like Chagalani or Yuga Coffee, can actually go and do their registration themselves. But we also have the the Ugandan companies, the local companies which are also involved in export, and they may not have these resources. So having such a system already in place, they do not have to develop a system on their own. Some of these companies already have their systems, but now this system will enable them to also go and use the same system and have the data. Yes, the capacity of UCDA, this is not something we are going to do alone. We are going to do it with all the value chain actors, but taking lead as the lead agency mandated to do this role. Yes, and I've noted the rest of engaging parliaments and what lessons can we learn from the other countries. I think this is something also to take as a note going forward. The regulations are still they were reviewed. The next step is stakeholder engagements to validate them before they are submitted for final approval. So, but that's also noted for action and to take back to my process. Thank you very much. the timeline is so by this December 2024, all this should have been done. So beginning January, the coffee that is going to be exported in January of 2025 should all be traceable. So the process should have all been completed by next year in December.
Is there room to request for more time?
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for those insights. And I think we can all agree that the discussion. Okay. Many issues are burning.
So for March 24, it's not there. Or it was perceived that maybe it would be the initial, I think maybe phase to stop, okay, to see how far maybe the country has come. But it's part of the, I just wanted to be sure that maybe it was not, it was a wrong communication, maybe, I don't know. There are 3 days.
About the March, I'm not sure, but what I'm certain of from the documentation I have, it is the January, the coffee that's exported in January of 2024 should be traceable. 25 years. So by December, we should have done the whole traceability process. But like she noted, if there's room for applying for more time, I think we first have to take the steps to do the traceability system in place. And then you can say we add 50% or 30% and we request for more time. I think it's easier to justify when you've taken some steps. I think maybe there are about, if I may recall, about 3 requirements, and one was deforestation. The other one was human rights, and they totally have different dates. For deforestation is December 2024. Then for, I think human rights had child labor, women, his point, women who are forced to work and so on. That also has a totally different date. Yeah.
Maybe just to add, from the information I read on the directive, the January 2025 is for only large-scale enterprises. Then July will be for small-scale enterprises. Maybe the one you mentioned on the human rights, the final text is coming out in December this year, so it's not yet concluded.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for those insights. We can all agree that a lot of work needs to be done in terms of policy, in the policy sphere, because from what the members of parliament have raised, the regulations are not in place. And even from their end, they don't have sufficient information. And actually, even they need to be taken through these directives, the implications. And also for the relevant agencies, such as UCDA, National Planning Authority, what members of parliament have requested is that it should all start from parliament, with engaging parliament, the political leaders, so that they can mobilize a critical mass, because we need to reach farmers. But the issue might get out of hand if we just get to the academics. But the political leaders, come from different constituents. They could mobilize the people so that there is buy-in, because without buy-in, then government might not achieve the intended objectives. And also from the initial discussions that we had with the ED's remarks, she alluded to the issue of we can trade our way out of poverty. That's a mantra that we have at SEATINI. We strongly believe that we can trade our way out of poverty. However, for trade to lead to poverty reduction, the policy environment has to be right. So the need to review some of the existing trade and investment policies to make them fit for purpose cannot be overemphasized. We all recognize that. And also with the remarks, the keynote address and opening remarks by Honorable Okori, Janet, she took us through where it all started, the long-standing relationship that Africa, all Africa, Caribbean, and Pacific has with the European Union, from the Lomé Conventions, because there is Lomé 1, Lomé 2, and then there is the Cotonou Agreement in 2000. And it's not that the relationship really has been, a walk on the moon. There have been some really challenges with the relationship, although that doesn't, challenge the whole issue of the EU being our biggest market. The EU is still a good market for most of our exports. However, when we look at the products that we take to the EU, they're mainly primary products, and we need to do better, because the issue of the trade deficit is also one that we must address. We buy manufactured products from the EU expensively, because the price for a manufactured product and the price for a primary product are two different. So that brings about the imbalance in terms of trade. But also, Commissioner Mr. Court raised the issue of the importance of the national market, domestic market. He alluded to issues of Ethiopia taking the issue of the domestic market more serious, consuming coffee among other products, because as we discussed agricultural products, we also have to look at where we have our most market knowledge or competitive advantage. And coffee is one of the products. How then do we contribute to efforts of enhancing domestic consumption of products like coffee? Because we all appreciate that we are heavily relying on the EU market and other external markets for most of our products. But what went wrong with the domestic market? Part of it is to do with us not being intentional on building a critical mass like domestic market. There were efforts underway, and I know Ms. Arina Jacqueline was part of, that campaign, but it was just a campaign. I think we need to do beyond a campaign. That needs to be supported by policy, because if we are to talk about increasing domestic consumption of coffee, then there are more efforts that need to be undertaken beyond the one-off campaign. And then the issue of regional markets, regional economic communities being building blocks for the FCFTA. He alluded to that, and that cannot be overemphasized. The issue of economic partnership agreements, the Kenya EPA that was politically concluded earlier this year, but also he shared with us that all is not done. It's at the level of East African Court of Justice, because there were challenges. The context has long changed, because by the time the EPA was signed with the ESC, there were fewer members of the ESC, East African Community. And now with the admission of DRC and also other countries that are in the pipeline to be admitted in the ESC, and the context, we've had a polling crisis, we've had a number of challenges. So all those put into account call for the need to overhaul or review the EPAs to make them fit for purpose, and also be cognizant of the changes that have taken place. And also informed us about the ESC Council of Ministers meeting that will sit on 2nd December. I think that is also an opportunity, and we pray that the outcome of that meeting will be in favor of what we really are pushing for. And from the different submissions that we've all made, I think we need to align whatever is happening in terms of the policy sphere to the realities on the ground. When we talk about directives, we don't talk about them in abstract terms, but in terms of realities. When we talk about even the technology has to also, aid, collecting of the right data, but also in terms of resources, because we need resources. UCDA needs resources, and given the appropriation role of members of parliament, their oversight role, I think it calls for engagement of parliament, so that even the budget to agro-industrialization and also UCDA as an entity and Ministry of Trade can also work towards the same direction. Because if the commitment or the will is there and the resources are not pointing in the right direction, then we might not achieve all that. And of course, not to emphasize the issue of engaging people, engaging the stakeholders, the farmers, the MSMEs, because policies are meant to benefit the people. If they fall short of that, then the people will decry, the challenges that they are still facing over and over because of not being consulted, not fitting into the processes. And at SEATINI, we have ongoing efforts towards promoting equitable and transformative EU-Africa trade and investment relations, because we believe that the relationship has to be mutually beneficial. It's not a one-way. And they need us, we need the market, but they also need us, because we also have the products. But then how do we work towards meeting their standards and also being able to make these agreements fit for purpose so that they can allow us to have flexibilities of adding value. And standards cannot be made without the role of key institutions. Ministry of Trade, Uganda Export Promotion Board as an agency under Ministry of Trade, UCDA, the efforts that are underway to do with aggregation centers, establishing aggregation centers, all that I think will contribute to, if realized, will contribute to unlocking our potential to meaningfully participate in trade. Because as for now, we are locked at the lower end of the global value chain, not only for coffee, but also for other agricultural products, because we're not adding the much needed value. And that means if we're not intentional and serious on that, we may still be locked at the lower end of the value chain. But as SEATINI, we still advocate for better integration into global trade as Africa. In fact, that's why this is more like a mantra, strengthening Africa in world trade. It's the journey that we walk in whatever we do. We strengthen African world trade. And part of strengthening African world trade is strengthening the capacity of negotiators so that when they engage in global processes, they can be able to advance our interests. And of course, our work has just started, because from the testimonies from members of parliament, I think we need to engage on the directives broadly, their implications, and we are glad to know that National Planning Authority has efforts underway. So I think we'll get in touch immediately after this meeting. And I would like to also thank the online audience, distinguished gentlemen that joined us for this engagement. And with those so many words, allow me to declare this meeting closed. But a luta continua, it's not done yet. We are still going to engage in these issues, online and also in other physical spaces. Thank you so much. I have two comrades here who have issues to raise. Although we have closed by please, let's grant them an opportunity to be able to raise. There are colleagues under the MATS consortium from Makerere University. I think
good afternoon. Yes, I'm called Irene Nakamate, and I'm going to speak to what Chen and then John talked about. They have completed actually their study in Tanzania, and we are also as Makerere doing the same for Uganda. And this means for us to understand the implications, to know the processes, we surely need to consult the different coffee value chain actors. And I would love to, at such a time, appreciate SEATINI for such a unique, interesting opportunity where the different professionals, researchers, actors, exporters, like come together for such a discussion to discuss and interact around the coffee value chain, but also forge a way forward on how to improve this. Like he mentioned, yes, for us to be able to reduce poverty among the smallholder farmers, we need a conducive policy environment. And for that, that means we need to get ideas from the actual players. So here we are, and we are requesting that we shall be getting to you. We know this is closed, like Herbert mentioned, but we shall actually request for further interactions with you, Ms. Arinda, Ms. Ameria, Dr. Medad, NPA, representative, and then the other stakeholders. Would love to understand more the institutional frameworks, the regulatory frameworks, where the status, but also know about how this can influence the SDGs and how does it trickle down to the smallholder farmers. How do they finally benefit or reduce poverty in their circles? So I am with my colleague, Augustine Olo, and we shall surely be coming to you to get your contact, and then please, we know you're welcome as Mrs. Nalo granted us this. So thanks a lot, and hope to interact more. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I request that we prepare for the moment, because I think the way we've been seated, we are apart. So the photo moment will give us memories to know who was in the room, and also be able to to refer to the photo and say, this was the meeting when we discussed important issues. So my colleagues are going to set up, but also for lunch, we have some people at the back, and some modest facilitation will also be sent to your mobile numbers. I request that we confirm that the numbers we submitted are those that are mobile money registered, so that we can be able to have that also done flawlessly without any challenge. So we're going to take the picture from the front. We'll have to the live streaming. Perhaps also the online audience, if they are still there. Thank you for joining us once again. We may actually go off now. In spirit.